you can see in real time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Seamless.AI product training webinar. Appreciate you joining us here today. We are going to just wait a few minutes as everybody trickles in and filters in. We typically get started around 3 or 4 after the hour to let everybody have a chance to make sure they get to the webinar. So we'll go ahead and give just 1 or 2 more minutes. Let the teams filter in, and look forward to getting started here shortly. A few housekeeping notes before we go ahead and get started. First of all, you have both myself, Jake Phillips, who I lead product here at Seamless.AI, and David Toll, who is our Director of Customer Success here at Seamless.AI. We will be both collectively leading you through the product demonstration here today. So if you have any questions, we also have the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So if you have any questions and you want us to go a little bit deeper on a certain area or explore a certain area that you have questions about, feel free to chat in that Q&A section. Just type in your question there, and we will go ahead and do our best to either in the flow of the demonstration answer that. David will be, trying to address these questions as they come in on the fly as part of our product demonstration, and I will also help to man the Q&A and type any questions that come back as well, so you can have those responses documented. But we'll do our best to make sure we keep up with Q&A, and then at the end of the session as well, we're going to go ahead and have an open Q&A session to allow you to type in any other questions as well. So those are a great source to make sure we're hitting on those points that are critical to you personally in these training sessions. And then finally, there is a section within our Help Center that has recorded webinars and recorded trainings, as well as some other really useful videos. And then the Help Center as a whole will go over as part of this training is a great source for continued information and continued education with the Seamless platform. So I'd encourage you, if you have anything that you need to refresh on coming out of this webinar, go ahead and check in about a day. We should have the webinar from today updated. You can also see past recorded webinars there as well. But that is a great area for you to go ahead, jump in, and find any additional information that you're looking for. So those are just a couple of housekeeping items that we wanted to make sure to hit on before we go ahead and get started. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I will pass the sharing and the screen over to my colleague David, and he can go ahead and get us started on this product training webinar.
All right, everybody. Jake, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
And I think you might be muted there, Dave. Yeah.
Oh, better now?
I don't think anybody else is, though.
It's okay. Any better now?
Let me see. I can see your screen. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you? Actually, I think it might have been me. Can you talk again?
I sure can. How are we doing?
Perfect. We're good now.
Okay. It's always good to do a quick sound check as we get started. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Yes, I'm David Toll. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at Seamless.AI. Jake is our VP of Product. We're both thrilled to have you on today so we can give you a tour of the platform and get you on your way to using Seamless to grow your business, increase your number of booked appointments, quality leads, really anything you need to get your product in front of the right people. That's ultimately the problem that we're trying to solve. So we'll walk you through a couple different aspects of the platform today. I'll run through our agenda to make sure you know what to expect. So if you can see my screen right now, Jake, you guys can see my screen, right? Just to confirm?
Yes, looking good.
Perfect, excellent, good to go. So we're good on that front. So today what we're going to do is we're going to walk through how to search from right here at Seamless.ai. We have a contact search that you can use with certain filters to locate people that you're trying to reach out to. And we also have certain parameters in place for companies as well. So we'll take a look at how to use both of those searches. We have some ways in our UX to tie those two searches together that we'll explore. We'll take a look at our settings to make sure you know how to personalize and configure your account to meet the unique needs of your business and the tech stack that you have to support your team. Or if you're flying solo, just you. We definitely have plenty of people on our platform who are entrepreneurs or SDRs who know their way around the business and are investing in themselves to drive their value to their organization. And then we'll take a look at our Chrome extension. And basically that helps you look at our social search and how to take the power of Seamless with you outside of the application you're looking at today. We'll take a look at how that works within LinkedIn Sales Navigator because we have a pretty high population of customers that are using both our Chrome extension and LinkedIn Sales Navigator tool to a pretty high degree of success. So we'll explore that too. But we'll start here within the app. And like I said, we've got two different searches over here. And one of the places we always start these training webinars, or really anytime we're walking a client through the platform, is a reminder that this is not a database. We're sales professionals. We've come up in a world that has run off of database-style solutions as far back as most of us can remember. So it's worth bearing in mind that we probably have lots of ingrained and built-in habits from working in database-style solutions. And the same is true for our company's founders, the people who originally designed this tech. Our founder, Brandon Bernanson, was selling for companies like Google and IBM and using database-style solutions, and found through doing some manual spot checking and additional homework off the clock that he was missing 80 to 90% of his total addressable market by using a database and being reliant on manually updated data. Now, you can go out to a search engine like Google and try to do it yourself. It's going to take a long time, right? But what he did, and he worked with developers in-house and built out of relationships that he'd already built to put together a search engine for sales professionals. So when we search these fields, when we add keywords into these filters and hit search, we're not searching a database. We are searching all available information that we are able to pull in from a variety of sources to help you reach outside the scope of what a database-style solution can offer. And we're doing it in real time. So if someone you're looking for just moved to a new job, you're going to get that information right here, right away in Seamless, and you're not going to have to wait 4 months for someone on our team to update it manually inside of our database. It's going to happen in real time for you. So let's take a look at a couple of examples of how you can use these searches here, and then we'll build that into some of the additional functionalities that help you take advantage of once you have those contacts in place, right? You want to be able to make use of them. So we will touch on how to download contacts once you've found them, how to import them into your CRM. If you have a direct integration with, we have a direct integration with Salesforce and with HubSpot. And we also have some other apps in play that can help you connect to even more elements of your tech stack with more direct integrations on the way. So we'll take a look at that search in a moment here. The first thing I'll call attention to, just because I am the Director of Customer Success, so selfishly, I want to show you where you can get help outside of these webinars if you need us in the future. We've got our little help icon right down here, and we have a fully stacked customer knowledge center that you can search. So let's say I want to learn more about CRM, right? Like I just heard David say, I can integrate this into my CRM, potentially, if there's a native integration. So how do I find out more about that? I'll type in CRM, hit enter, and I have access to a number of articles that I can check in on. So let's say I'm from a Salesforce organization. I can click on that article, learn a little bit more, scroll through this user guide for how to integrate Salesforce. And then if I want to pop it open in our knowledge base, I just hit that little square up in the top right. And then I can roll through the entire knowledge base. It's broken down by topic. So I can browse if I want to do some additional learning and work through unit by unit. If I want to search up here, I can do that. And then we do post, as Jake mentioned, videos and webinars right here in our daily webinar recordings, along with some other on-demand training that you can always refer back to. This is available to anybody who uses the platform. And let's say you've gone through that and you still don't have the answer you need. That's exactly why our CS team is here. They say, contact us, let us know why you're reaching out, and then anything that'll help us solve it, including attachments. If you want to attach a picture, a video of what you're looking at, a data file that you have questions about, anything and everything that's going to help us evaluate how you're searching, what your strategy is, how you're using the product that can help us drive more success for you and your business. It's exactly what we're here for. So please make liberal use of the Knowledge Center and liberal use of our team. We're excited to keep working with you. And then an additional feature, and Jake is actually mostly responsible for these, so hat tip to him. You'll see up here in our navigation a little tour icon. So no matter where you are on the site, if you want to get a quick in-app guided tour of how things work, just click on that tour icon, and then Jake Phillips himself, there he is. If you want to see what Jake looks like, there he is. We'll walk you through how to use the platform step by step. If you ever need a point of reference, if you find this webinar really useful and just forget how everything works, or if you finish the webinar and say, David did a terrible job touring the product, you can always get Jake's tour right here. And I won't have my feelings hurt if you go there instead. All right, but that's Jake's tour. Let's go ahead and jump into mine so we can take a look at how you can search for contacts to get started, and then we'll move on through the rest of the process. So the first thing you're going to do is come over here to these filters and figure, but based on whatever type of campaign you're looking for, this is where you can leverage the power of real-time search data to build out your lead list. So depending on what type of campaign you're running, you'll want to search in different ways, right? Now, if I already know what company I'm targeting, I can do that here, and then I'm going to let that auto-populate. So let's say I'm looking for contacts at Menards, and I'm going to look for particular titles here too. I'm going to look for VP, I'm going to look for folks in marketing, I can certainly add additional titles from here. And this might be the scope of my search, right? Maybe my campaign is looking for people who are working in marketing at Menards at about the VP level. So I'm going to hit search, and we'll see what happens, right? Okay. So when I hit search, Seamless went out and found potential candidates that could match my search criteria. They're all at Menards. They all look like they have some level of VP or marketing within their title, right? Now let's say I wanted to do a little bit of additional filtering from here. I could use keywords and say I don't want people who are involved on the service side. When I use these keywords, there's Boolean logic associated with these. So I could throw in a minus sign, enter in service, add that as a tag, rerun this search, and try to narrow it down even further. So you really have the power with unlimited search to play with these keywords, become kind of an SEO specialist, and work closely within this search to narrow down exactly what you're looking for. Now that being said, you have that capability, right? We're offering the ability to narrow down using keywords. One of the best practices that we recommend is actually to try to cast a little bit of a wider net than you normally would. And the reason is you have unlimited access to this platform, right? You're not in a database style solution where you have to pay per lead or pay more for certain thresholds of leads, like if you're trying to get into the C-suite. We're equal opportunity across all of these different contacts, right? So, if normally you target executives, consider targeting some VPs, consider targeting some directors, because at the end of the day, you're trying to book more qualified meetings. And that's what a lot of our most successful customers do. They'll cast a broad net, and then they'll work within that list to see how many more qualified meetings they book and adjust their strategy accordingly. So when you're using these filters, those are some good things to bear in mind, not just about the functionality and how it works, but about how some of our most successful customers are using it. Well, let's say that I'm happy with these filters and I like the look of these folks, and I'm going to start I'm going to start bringing some of this contact information in, right? Now, obviously, as you can see, you can guess that if I started to click on Find Email, Find Phone, or any of these Find buttons, maybe even Find All up here, that I would start to get some contact information, right? That's correct. However, there's one thing that I'm going to do first. I'm going to go over here where it says Architect. These are my lists. Now, if you haven't set any lists, this is what you're going to see on your end. You're going to see a little prompt to say Set Default List. Now, I am going to set these up on a list, and it might not be immediately apparent why that's going to be advantageous to you right away, but I'll show you down the road when you're looking to export or import these contacts into a spreadsheet or a CRM, why there's real value in keeping these organized as you're finding them. So I already have a Menards list from some prior testing, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. But if I didn't, I could go ahead and add a separate one up here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that just for the purposes of this demo, right? And now Menards VP is set as my default list. So I'm going to go ahead and click Find All now. And now we see that Seamless is going out and researching all available data that we can find, not only to find emails, company phones, and direct phones for all of these contacts, but also performing validation to make sure we're getting you good data. You know, as you can see up here, we're still working on validating the email address for Robert, right? We're not going to give you that email address until that validation has been completed. If you're looking for a little bit more information on how that works, anytime you want to review it, you can click on an email address that you found, and that's going to populate our AI validation. And it'll show you how many times, or the count at which we were able to associate the phone number or email address with that individual. And beyond that, at the email level, you'll be able to see if we were able to validate that email address against the organization's server. So we sent out a ping to menard-inc.com and said, hey, does this email give us back a valid response? It does. So we got a valid response back from the server. That's why we marked it as valid for you. That combined with the count of 575 is going to be a pretty good look. Now, you might see on occasion this accept all standard, right? So if the server doesn't give us a yes or no back and it's accepting all data that it has sent its way, we're going to get that accept all response back. We're still going to give you that count, though, and help you make a judgment call one way or the other on whether or not you want to move forward with that data. If you got a pretty high count, it's usually good to go. And then, of course, if we get an invalid message back from the server, we're going to let you know that too, so you know to stay away from this data, move forward with this. Now, let's say you run into some contact information that you end up finding, maybe if you don't have as great an experience with it as you'd hope. That's why we give you the ability to upvote and downvote data as part of this experience. So some additional features to point out, and then I'll go a little bit further into search. You know, as this information was coming in, you also saw this start to populate over here, right? A company address, but also these icons underneath Intel. So if I click into any one of these social media icons, that'll take me directly into Mike's LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook profile. But I can also click on this contact intelligence icon. Now what that gives me is access to a wealth of information about Mike, but also about Menards. Easy access to their financial information, keyword intelligence, social media mentions, etc. And if I want to take a look at Mike's LinkedIn profile, I can easily link out to it and learn a little bit more about him. What's he posting about? Where else has he been? Where did he go to school? Do I like his face, right? Like I can get a little bit of a feel for who he is. And our team actually uses this feature, especially our SDRs, to do personalized script building. So not only are we using this to build lists at scale, right, and help you access more data than you've had reach to before, and do it in a way that you can scale efficiently and get to more quality book meetings more quickly. But we have features like this that allow you to intelligently build your scripts in a meaningful way so that you can get to know Mike and somebody can jump in and, you know, demonstrate that they've done their research. And it's also a good peek at people ask us, well, where are you getting this information, right? Obviously, LinkedIn has a pretty solid amount of information on where people work and what they do, but we're canvassing everything. We're looking for where they're going to conferences, where are they in the news, where are they being quoted, right? What kind of reviews are out there? And we're trying to pull all of that in. And this is a good resource if you're ever wondering, where do we get this information? We're not scraping it out of LinkedIn or anything. We're getting it from publicly available sources like this to make sure that you can come back and review company intelligence, contact intelligence, to really personalize your touch points as well. So I'm going to head back in here so we can get back to the main event, which is, of course, I want to build out some of these lists, right? All right, so I've gotten one round of pages done. I'm going to show you something that our most effective power users do. Now, if I scroll all the way to the bottom here, right, I'm actually going to head back to search. Here we go. So I'm back in my search. I still have these filters in place. If I scroll down to the bottom, I see a page where I can go next. And normally, if I were on a traditional search engine like Google, or even in a database, I might see a little number down here telling me how many more pages are left, how many more contacts are left, that sort of thing. You won't see that in search, because as I move to the next page, we're actually going out and searching again. That's how real time this is, right? So I see a few more. I'm going to go ahead and hit Find All, bring them back into my list. And then once I go over into my contacts, there's a little more work I can perform here. I do have a count, right? I've got a count of everybody that I've ever downloaded. Now, let's say I want to check on my search and see how many people I've been able to pull into my Menards VP list so far to determine whether or not I want to keep searching. Maybe I want to go beyond some of these filters that I've deployed. Well, I've got the ability, once I head over to my contacts, to filter these columns by different parameters. So this is why I highlighted the importance of adding them to a list as I searched. Because now I can go to this list filter. I can scroll on down to Menards VP, the list I'm currently using, apply it, and that will show me a full count of how many people I've been able to pull in so far. Now I can do a lot more than that too. You know, the next step from here, of course, would be getting this in the hands of your team or yourself so you can start reaching out to people. Now, obviously, you can start doing it manually, but we want to give you ways to automate as much of this as possible, cut down on manual entry on all fronts. So if you're going to export these into a spreadsheet, you can perform some additional filtering here too. Like if you just want to look at validated email, or if you're doing a call campaign and you just want to look at direct lines and not at company lines, that's an additional filter you can deploy here within Seamless. And then the next step I'll perform is to come over here to where it says download. I'll click on that. Now, if I hit download all, it's going to download every contact I've ever saved in Seamless, or that's still saved here, into a spreadsheet. If I do download filtered, then it's going to recognize where I've got this filter in place to only show the Menards VP list. So if I click on that, I'm going to have a spreadsheet download right over here that shows me only the contacts that are on that list. Now, one question I know we're going to get, clean versus raw. Now, what in the world does that mean? Well, the raw data contains really everything we were able to find, whether we were able to validate it or not, or even whether we presented it or not. So we make that available because we do have some clients who are pretty deep data hounds, and they might have their own tools that they want to validate this against and run it through maybe a couple of resources on their end they're fond of or have a lot of trust in. That's why we make it available, so that if that's the camp you're in and you want to keep running with more of this data, you can. Most of our clients use clean. That's still going to give you well more than you probably need. It's a pretty solid length of columns, but that's going to only present to you the information that'll be useful to help you move on to the next phase of contacting these folks. I'm going to go ahead and open this and see if I can quickly show you what the file looks like. Here we go. I've got my own little homework there. Let me get that file up for you. Here we go. Yeah, so basically you get a really fair amount of columns here still, but we want to make sure that we make as much information as available as possible. So yeah, you'll still see all of that information we were able to pull in for the contact intelligence, in addition to columns for company, email, phone, everything you need to either send this over to your team so they can start working, or to manually import it into your CRM so you can have it start to fire off of any of your existing business rules. Now, let's talk a little bit about CRM though, and then I'll jump back into how we use the company search. But since we're on the topic of importing or exporting data, there's one more icon here, and that's for HubSpot. So we have two native integrations. I'm going to jump into our CRM settings for you real quick so you can give them a look. And actually, let me first jump that way. This will be a clear place to start, I think, our connected apps, because this will show you a little bit more of what some of your options are, right? So we have direct integrations with both Salesforce and HubSpot as the top two CRMs in the space, right? So if you use Salesforce or you use HubSpot, you can head into this connected app section. You can click on either one of these, and it's just going to ask you to log into your account and get you on the way to being set up. So what that looks like when you head into the CRM settings, you know, we'll have some settings pre-populated for you. You can decide whether or not you want to automatically import data to HubSpot, whether or not you want data from Seamless to overwrite existing company or contact data that you already have stored. And then we have some mapping already performed for you, you know, kind of a basic level, but you can always add new mapping based on some of the other fields that we're pulling in that you just saw on that spreadsheet. And you can add custom mapping as well. So plenty of options to tailor the CRM settings, and the Salesforce settings are almost identical to this as far as the mapping, the structure and everything. So plenty of opportunities to personalize how your CRM integration works when it comes to Salesforce or HubSpot. We do have more native CRM integrations coming up down the pipeline. As always, you can head down here to the Help Center, send us a note if there's one in particular you want us to prioritize, and we can give it a quick upvote for you and keep working on it. But once we got these two up, the benefit we discovered is, well, okay, we've got a repeatable process now. So we actually have dedicated resources on our development team whose sole purpose is to keep rolling out integrations just like this. So you can expect to see more down the road, not just CRMs, but other applications that are probably in your tech stack, dialers, email marketing programs like MailChimp, Mojo Dialer, SalesLoft, Outreach. They're all in exploration right now, and we have many more lined up through the rest of Q3 and into Q4. So well more to come on that front. In the meantime, we do, oh, I don't need to save my changes, but thank you for asking. See, we're looking out for you. In the meantime, we also have a connection with Zapier. So if you're not familiar with Zapier, I'm going to jump in there for a moment just to give you an idea of how it works. It's a pretty fantastic tool. We actually use it quite a good deal internally for our own tools. Basically, it helps you connect different technology platforms without having to involve your development team, get into API or code or anything like that. I am not a code guy. So I use Zapier a lot when I'm trying to connect different technology products and have them trigger actions off of each other. So if I'm going to make a Zap here, that's what Zapier calls their connections between different technology products. And I'm going to go ahead and set up Seamless as the first one so you can get a feel for how this works. If you've got that set up, I can select Seamless as my first app. And then it's kind of choose your own adventure, right? I don't have to write any code. Zapier already has options set up for how I can connect my data in Zapier, what I want to fire out of there. I can even customize it if I want it to only fire when I say, if I search contacts and they're saved to a particular list, or I only want valid email addresses to trigger another action. You know, I can put those settings in place. I'm going to go ahead and skip this, but I ordinarily would. Oh, they work more quickly than I thought. They'll even pull in sample data for you to work with as you're building out the connection. And then once I have all of that done, right? So I need to add an action step. And this is where I can connect a new contact being saved in my Seamless.AI account to any of these apps. There are hundreds of them. I can trigger actions out of any of these. So if I want every time a new lead gets saved in Seamless to trigger an email out of my Gmail account to start a cadence for email marketing automatically, I can do that. If I wanted to send a Slack out to a particular team to say, hey, check out these new leads that I found, I can do that. If I want it to be added to a call list in Mojo that I've already populated and I already have a team working out of, so I'm just feeding them numbers as I'm finding them in Seamless, I can do that. If I wanted to be added to a Google Drive spreadsheet, that can happen too. So Zapier unlocks a ton of possibilities. It doesn't involve a whole lot of work to jump in here and get hands-on with it. And like I said, once you pick an app, they walk you through what those options are and help you perform whatever mapping is necessary to move the data from one field to another. So see, it's automatically populating all of the data I would have in a Seamless contact point that I can match up into the appropriate field. So yeah, great integration. We wanted to get it out there as a bridge while we work on more native integrations, but our customers have already been fantastic about finding all kinds of ways to use this in really, really creative ways and really aggressive ways too. Kind of like the ones I was describing, right? You can imagine as you're bringing these searches in, if they're automatically getting an email marketing campaign as soon as I find them, if they're validated or not. So lots that you can explore there. Now, if I want to just move these contacts in one-to-one from HubSpot as I find them, that's something I can do too. All I have to do is click on this icon, and that's going to automatically populate the lead in HubSpot. And as you'll see here in a moment, all of the fields will automatically be populated based on the mapping that I had built out. Email address, contact owner. Don't have a phone number for Jessica, but if we did, it would populate right there. We got the company line over there, right? But we didn't have a direct line for Jessica. All right. So it's already 4:31, and we covered a lot of ground. So I'm going to take a quick breath here. We haven't seen any questions come in yet, but in a previous life, I was a teacher. So I do like to take little moments to take a breath and pause, because I know sometimes that gets our brain to stop for a moment and maybe generate some questions. We certainly don't mind them. All right. Normally an uncomfortable silence works, so that's fine. We'll keep on rolling. Please fire questions in as they come to you, and we'll either address them throughout the demonstration or make sure we catch up at the end. So we've looked at the contact search. We've looked at how to take those contacts and download into a spreadsheet. And you can also, I should mention, if you apply these filters, that's also a way that you can import them into your CRM. So I don't necessarily have to do that automatically. I can set a filter and then hit import filtered, and that would import just the Menards VP list into HubSpot, if that's what I wanted to do. And there's a question. I knew we'd have one come in. How do we access the account AI that shows competitive info and the other forms that is on the home page toward the bottom? Shows competitive info and the other forms that is on the home page toward the bottom. I think, Jake, I know what that's in reference to. I think we're talking about the company homepage outside of the app.
Yeah, I think that is mainly referencing the company intel and the AI and the contact intel and AI. So you went over that high level, David. We do have a beta for kind of a more robust version of that. But at this time, that is the company AI and contact AI that we are developing out. So it is enhancing, and actually we do have predictive intelligence and lead recommendations in a internal beta at the moment. So we are working through that to provide that out to our end users as well in a not too distant future in Q3 here. All right.
Gotcha. Great question. I hope that detail helps to answer it there too. Yeah, we are very excited about that. And in addition to that too, since you're on this webinar, we always like to tip our hat a little bit toward our product roadmap. You can also keep our eye out for more in the way of how to leverage these contacts once they come through, right? Like obviously you probably have many of your own templates and sales scripts, etc. But we're looking for a way to incorporate more of the content that our founder and CEO, Brandon Bernanson, has been putting out into the space with his 7-figure sales system. So we'll be adding more of that in time as well. So you'll have access to more content that'll help you move forward with these contacts too. And Robin, this is a great question here, and it's actually going to dovetail directly into the next part of the demo. Will there be a way to look up contacts and get a better handle on location? So I want to take a look at that. Great point. So you're noticing over here in the contact search that we don't have location currently set up as a filter. I'm going to hop into companies where you can see that we do have location as a filter. Now I'm going to answer your question. I want to quickly take a moment to articulate why these two searches are set up the way they are. We built them both separately to work off of real-time data as effectively as possible. And that's why you see these separate filters in place. These are the filters that help us effectively pull data for companies and then for contacts if we're looking at using it as a real-time search engine. So one way, if you're looking natively within the app, if you're targeting certain contacts by location or industry size, most of our clients who are doing that, and if that's the sort of market they're targeting or the sort of strategy they're employing, I'll show how to do that in our Chrome extension here in a little moment, because that's honestly how most of them are achieving that today. Most of them are using, say, LinkedIn Sales Navigator as a tool to work to match the filters that they need, and then they're using the Chrome extension to pull the leads back into Seamless for further validation and to actually find the contact info. If you're working natively within the app, there's a little bit that you can work with, but just to quickly demo the company search and how it works, right? Let's say I'm looking for contacts in architecture and planning, and then I want to set a location. I can decide whether or not I just want to look in the US, or even if I want to look in a particular region or state. Let's say I just want to look in Ohio, where we are today. And if I wanted to, I could even drill down at a city level. And then if I wanted to, I could also filter by revenue, employee size, etc. Right? I'm going to go ahead and leave those alone for now. I'm going to hit search, and it's going to pull in companies in Ohio under that industry for architecture and planning. Now, if I'm tracking these companies here in my Seamless account, I can go ahead and add them to my companies by clicking add or clicking add all. there is a way to move from the company search to the contact search, which I'll demonstrate here for a moment. I want you to keep your eyes over here while I click on select all over on this side. So again, keep your eyes on the left side of the screen. When I hit select all, we automatically have tagged 10 of these companies in the company filter for the contact search. So these companies match your filters across industry and region, and now we're looking for people at these companies. So if I'm looking for owners at these companies, I can go ahead and add that as a tag. I could play around with keywords like we talked about before. Heck, and just to remind you, if you're ever looking for somebody by name, an individual, we do have clients who do most of their work at conferences, and they'll have names thrown across them at a booth. This is where you can come and look up an individual name. Probably best to have these filters off if you're doing that. But if I'm looking for people at these companies, looking for owners at these companies, I've already got them populated. I'll go ahead and hit search and see what I find. And so I don't find anybody for those particular companies. Well, not to worry. I can just jump right back into companies, scroll down and hit next, hit select all again, and run the same search. Okay, so no dice on that. Now let's see what happens if I remove that title. A lot of times this is a trial and error process, right? And I might start to find some better contacts in that fashion. But that is effectively how you would move from company search over here into contact search if you're looking to combine those two. But like I said, a lot of times we'll see clients use the Chrome extension if you're looking to drill down to contacts by industry, by location, features like that. I'm going to go ahead and demo that real quick. So if I have these same filters in place, I can run our Chrome extension directly from within LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but I can also click on the social search button right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It's automatically going to pop me into LinkedIn, and it's going to find contacts that match those filters as well. And as you can see, I've already got all of my Seamless.AI features set up here in LinkedIn. If I want to set a new list for these contacts, I can do that. I'm going to go ahead and do that for the purpose of demoing here. Contact Ohio, set that as my default. And if I go back into the app, you'll see that my default list has changed there too. So they're talking to each other in real time, synchronously. So you can obviously find all these contacts here in LinkedIn. You can also continue the search in Sales Navigator. And this is the process that I mentioned earlier that a lot of our most successful clients are leveraging, especially if they're looking for people at a geographic or industry level. Because LinkedIn is a database. They have all this information readily on hand. We've given it to all of them. So I can apply those filters here too. Look at Ohio. I could even filter down the different regions within the state. I can select architecture as my industry. And I could even start to narrow it down even further. But as you can see, all these people are populating based on those filters. So if I want to bring them back into Seamless, it's just like it is in the app. I'm going to hit Find All. And I'm not touching the screen. We're automatically rolling the cursor down for you. So LinkedIn knows that you're a person and not a bot, right? And now that it's scrolled back up, if I head back into Seamless, all of those contacts are being researched and saved automatically to that list. And we're performing the same validation that we did for the same ping back from the server. So in this case, because we didn't get a yes or a no, that's where you see that accept all, but we found a count of 21 for that email address. So pretty confident that's going to be a good point of contact for you. But again, that's really the value, right? Now, we think LinkedIn has a great product. We have people at LinkedIn who use Seamless.AI for their own purposes, and we think they're a great partner. Our founder, Brandon Bernance, was one of the first people to get access to LinkedIn Live. But we don't necessarily get any benefit from marketing Sales Navigator or any of their other products, but just for whatever it's worth, I think it's a great product. We use it ourselves pretty frequently, especially in conjunction with the Chrome extension. If we don't get anything back from recommending it, but we have had a lot of clients have a lot of success with it. We think they're great at what they do. So if you're not already a LinkedIn Sales Navigator customer, they have a 30-day free trial. It's worth trying out, see what kind of value you get, and then calculating the ROI behind adding it in conjunction with the Chrome extension on how quickly you're going to be able to build lists at scale based on some of these filters that are in place here. A couple of pieces of advice if you're going to go that route. Obviously, you'll see up here, LinkedIn is displaying 14,000 results. Now, if I were to go down here and click all the way through, I probably, one, wouldn't quite find that many, and two, at a certain point, LinkedIn is going to cut me off at about 1,000 searches per day, right? They're using these filters, so if I go ahead and look at seniority level, I can select owner, and that's going to get me a little closer to that 1,000 count, so I can reset my list accordingly. Owner, and start finding these contacts. And that's going to help me keep these contacts organized, stay within LinkedIn's terms of service at around that count. And then this is really what our power users do, right? They'll let that roll through, and without jumping back in to check on anything, hit next. Move with confidence. Hit find all, let it scroll down, let it scroll up, and next. If you find yourself repeating those steps, you're doing something right. Set your parameters so that you have them in place, that you know you're going to get value from these contacts, and then move with confidence. The more quickly you move and the more you let this technology work for you to give you your time back, so that you're not spending time manually looking up all of these leads and trying to get them into a database yourself. Let the extension do its job for you, and then that way you're clearing up more time for yourself and your team to get into the emotional intelligence of closing business, growing your network, getting your product out there, and changing the world, right? And if I head back into Seamless, all of these contacts are being saved. All of them are being validated. And that's especially important when you're working out of data coming in from LinkedIn, right? I mean, you're dependent upon Kevin and Rick and Marlene keeping their profiles up to date, which isn't always the case. I always give my wife a hard time because her LinkedIn profile still shows her as the managing director for a nonprofit theater company. She has been doing that for 7 years, right? So we want to make sure that regardless of what LinkedIn is telling you, we want to make sure that information is being validated by Seamless so you can check it out and make sure that you're getting some kind of account, right? All right. So I've got a couple of questions coming in. I'm going to jump into those. I think these are the same ones from before, so apologize for that, Robin.
Yep. Yeah, I think you had answered those before too. And the other thing too that I want to just kind of clarify, if you could jump back into Sales Nav there for a second. So David had mentioned, the rate tracking that you're going to have within Sales Navigator. So that 1,400 results, the left-hand filter that you have there, that is typically, that's going to what it defines the number of results that you get back. So 1,000 is going to be the maximum number of results that you're going to get back in any singular search. So within those filters, like David mentioned, try to get as close to or under 1,000 as possible, because if you get over 1,000, then you're going to be leaving some people on the table, and LinkedIn is just not going to allow you to get past page 40, which is 1,000 results in each search. So modify, filter those results, get it as close to 1,000 as you can. So that way you're going to be getting access to all of those people, and you're not going to leave anybody at page 41 and beyond. The other thing to note too is that within LinkedIn, so you can use this across LinkedIn Standard, you can use it across LinkedIn Premium or Sales Navigator. This will work on profiles as well as in the search as well. So if you go into the profile page, you'll see that this also will pop up within the profile page. So if you're getting profile about profile, you can do that as well and click that find button. But within sales, or within LinkedIn Standard, typically around 1,000 contact, 1,000 page views in a day, LinkedIn's gonna flag you and say, hey, this may be a commercial use limit. They're gonna try to get you to upgrade to their Premium and Sales Navigator. So just be aware of that about 1,000 page views, if you are really rolling through the search, or you're just going profile to profile and really hitting it, they're going to flag and say, hey, looks like you're doing a lot of stuff here. Maybe upgrade to one of our premium packages. But within Sales Nav, you're going to get the opportunity to go a little bit deeper. So typically, you can access 2,000, 3,000 contacts before anything will be flagged as unusual within the system. So we allow you to get, upwards of 3,000 contacts in any given day, which of course, over the course of 22 business days, even in a month, you can get 50,000 to 100,000 contacts using kind of that threshold. And we do recommend that, as you're building a list, a couple hundred to a couple thousand a day is really all we'd recommend, because of the benefit of the real-time search. You don't want to go ahead and build 100,000 contacts and then use that for the entirety of your outreach for the year. we'd rather recommend that you build a couple thousand contacts and use that for this month, and a couple thousand contacts and use it for next month. So you obviously will define how much volume you need to be successful in doing the outreach and the work that you're doing, but use it consistently, and use the real-time nature of Seamless to its benefit. And 1 week build a couple thousand contacts, the next week go to the next part of your list, build a couple thousand contacts, and try to build those contacts as close as you can to the time that you're doing your outreach, because that's actually going to allow you to be as relevant, to limit the amount of turnover that people see across those jobs, and get the full benefit of the real-time search engine that you get out of the Seamless.AI platform.
Oh, that's exactly right. We run into that sometimes helping customers. They'll tell us, "Hey, I'm trying to download 20,000 contacts today. How do I do that?" And we'll kind of pump the brakes and say, "Well, first off, I'm going to ask you, why do you want to do that?" And they'll say, "Oh, I'm loading up my call list for the whole quarter." And that's just like Jake said, we'll try to help us lean back, and just like we mentioned at the very beginning of the webinar, right? We're trying to recognize when we're falling back into old habits that we've picked up from working in databases. If you're working out of a database, well, that behavior makes sense to me. Real-time search data, we recommend biting it off in consumable chunks, just like Jake described, so you're getting the full advantage of it being active in real time, so that if they've changed jobs, you're getting access to that data right away, or if they're changing their contact information or getting promoted, right? You're going to have access to everything happening in real time, and you want to give that to your team. That makes you more relevant to your audience when you do connect with them. You're going to be better positioned to understand what's going on with them in real time right now and what's important right now to them. So absolutely, if that involves breaking some habits, hey, it's one thing you're going to have to work with and get used to. But like Jake mentioned, we've built this out to work, seamlessly over the LinkedIn Sales Navigator experience, LinkedIn General, LinkedIn Premium. If you use LinkedIn Lists at all, and you'll see here, I don't use it that frequently, but if you do, we have the Chrome extension layered there as well. So if you already have a bunch of lead lists built out here in Sales Navigator, you can import those all over into Seamless for further validation. And then we also have an integration with LinkedIn Recruiter currently, and work with our development team as well. All right. Very good stuff. Got some good questions there. Jake, thanks for providing some additional context. Jake is the one who sets our product roadmap for the team. Really glad to have you on this call to give us a little bit of extra insight into, what customers are doing that's driving success, and some other things that we have on the pipeline. We're going to take a few more questions here, because we've covered all of the content that, we kind of had on our agenda. So I've got another one coming in. Is there a way to find competitive info? Might need a little bit more context on what you're looking for on that regard. You can obviously, when you look at the contact intelligence, that'll give you a little bit of some places where you can look for more information on, but I don't think there's anything in here that would offer too much insight on, direct competitors.
There's some elements within those. So I think SimilarWeb is one in there. I'd recommend, clicking around in some of those links that, show you some of the intelligence. I think SimilarWeb does have some other potential, and some of these, just a reference to this is basically kind of our marketplace of places that you can go and find contact company information. Some of them will provide you free information. Some of them, provide you a limited amount of free information, and then you need to upgrade. So it's really a marketplace of places you can go to get information like this. We are also working on that lead recommendation engine, which is going to provide you, different competitor options that you could actually get leads from. So that one will have an MVP. Our kind of initial release of that will be out in the next probably about a month or so. So I'd say 4 to 6 weeks out from there. But within that competitive, or that company intel and contact intel sections, I'd say just go ahead and click around, see what else is out there, and see if there's anything that really makes sense for you as you're starting to look for different things to personalize and to highlight, to get a little bit more deeper information around the company or the contact.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jake. And thank you. Glad that helped. I can see from the chat that that helped answer that question. So appreciate it. All right. Well, we technically have 9 minutes left, and we are more than happy to take up all of that time with any other questions that you have. So we'll keep the line open to see if any more come in. Oh, good. We do have another one. So even when a certain geographical location is specified, there are companies and contacts that appear from outside those areas. How do we avoid this? Really good question. So if I'm understanding that question correctly, what I'm hearing is that if you're setting your filters to a particular region, like I've got it set to Ohio, it sounds like you're running into instances where companies are coming in that are not in the area you specified. So one thing I would do right off the bat, anytime you see anything like that happen, pop this open right here, shoot us a line, let us know what's going on. We're always happy to look into it if something is happening a little bit beyond what's expected. So that's something we'd love to take a little bit of a closer look at offline, especially if it's something happening persistently. It's something we'd obviously like to avoid. But if we can look at some specific examples, that's exactly why our team is available. I can say with confidence that since I manage that team and Jake works so closely with the development team, one of the things that I really love about working here is how closely our product and development team is attached to the hip with our client success team. I've worked at organizations where those teams are a little more siloed, and I'm very happy to say that that's not the case here. We're in constant communication with each other, so we're normally able to get a pretty quick answer if anything like that pops up and find a resolution for you. So that's my recommendation from the CS side. I would love to continue that conversation offline if you can shoot us more information about what you're seeing. Jake, at a product level, any feedback you can offer that might help either avoid like that or any context of what might be happening?
Yeah, so there are instances where I think, as David had mentioned when he was demoing the companies and the contacts, so those are, because of our real-time search engine, essentially two separate data sets that are communicating and trying to talk with each other. And so essentially what we're doing from a product standpoint is we're finding the companies, and then we're going out there and we're saying, hey, using this company name as the keyword, let's find contacts under this company. And sometimes there are instances where the company will expand beyond the bounds, especially if it has a generic company name or if it's very general. So one note on that is we are actually going to be implementing a more of an exact versus broad matching solution when you start to look at these. That's going to allow you to set whether you want to look for a name that's kind of similar or you want to look for exactly that name. That would help to limit that from happening. So currently right now that actually is a solution we are going to be integrating within the next 2 sprints, so within the next 2 to 4 weeks from a development timeline standpoint. The other thing is that a lot of times when people are looking for contacts under locations, under a specific industry, David showed the Sales Navigator integration, and he had mentioned that a lot of our users who do look across companies and they're looking for not contacts at a named company in our internal search, but they're looking for contacts in a location or in an industry, and they don't necessarily have a set of companies they're looking for. The Sales Navigator solution is one that is a slightly more efficient way to do this. So I'd recommend looking into that if you haven't already. They do have a 30-day trial, so you can check that out and see if that's something that would work well. But the efficiency gained between those two, when you are doing something that's really more targeted, not around companies, but more around company criteria like location, industry, size, things like that. This is the really the path to most success that you're going to get out of the Seamless platform. It's all going to end up in the same place. You're going to still get the benefit of real-time researching and validating that contact information, and it's all going to end up in your My Contacts no matter where you find it, so you can easily import it or export it. But this solution really just allows you to get access to that data in a slightly more efficient manner than you currently can within the native platform. But again, going back to that, if you are against using that for one reason or another, you could do it with LinkedIn Standard as well. You can do it within our platform, and we are looking to optimize that even further within our platform to make sure that those generic name matches and things like that are limited and eliminated as much as possible in the very near future.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. I think that definitely helps to have context too. Yeah, I can't reiterate enough just how much success our customers who are using both of these platforms have had. Obviously, you've got to take a look at Sales Navigator and see if it works for you. Like I said, we're not getting any benefit ourselves from pushing it. We've definitely seen a lot of people been able to increase their quality book meetings, and if they've got filter parameters like this that they got to follow. But we recognize the need to make sure that we're continuously iterating on the UX on this side too. We've got a huge opportunity here. We built out these searches with separate parameters, and the more we tie the UI UX together, the more we can stay, well ahead of the pack when it comes to leveraging real-time search to get you access to the right people to drive and grow your business. Fantastic questions across the board. Really grateful to everybody for pitching in with so many thoughts and so many other things to run through. We're coming up on about 3 more minutes here. If I see any other questions come in, we'll make sure to cover them. But in closing, make sure to keep an eye on the knowledge base. We'll be posting this webinar along with the rest of the recording shortly. Always consider it as a resource if you're looking for more on-demand training. If you think there's anything that's missing, let us know. We're continuously iterating it. We're making updates to it every single day to keep it as relevant as possible. 2 final closing thoughts that we've already mentioned, but we always like to throw out there as best practices. 1, don't be afraid to cast a wide net. You've got unlimited search. So, go a little bit broader than your parameters normally require you to. I usually do that when I'm building a list for our team or for a customer. If I'm working along those lines, I'll play around with keywords and synonyms and try to create a little bit of extra value that way. And then move with confidence, right? Get your parameters set and then make liberal use of that find all button, whether you're in the app or whether you're in Sales Navigator. Those are some behaviors that our power users follow. That's how they've driven their success, and hopefully they serve to benefit you as well. Well, I think that'll bring it to a close for today. Thank you all for joining. We really are excited to see what you're able to accomplish with the platform and how much you're able to increase your reach and drive efficiency internally while still finding more and more contacts that you didn't have access to before. And just continue to grow your business. We're excited about being a part of your success, and we're always just a click away if you need us. So thank you again for joining today. Jake, any closing thoughts before we sign off?
I'll just go ahead and echo those sentiments and say thank you, everybody, for joining. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to take a look at the Help Center. Shoot us a note in the Help Center through a support ticket, or if there's anything that you'd like to see as a future state within the platform. As David had mentioned, my job is to make sure that we're moving this in the right direction for our customers and for your needs. So anything that you see that you'd like to see improve or you'd like to see added as a feature or a function, always let us know, and we're happy to make sure that that gets integrated into the conversation for our product roadmap, because we're constantly looking to make sure this gives you the best ability to build your pipeline and to crush your quota going into the the coming weeks, months, and years. So really appreciate the time from everybody, and looking forward to continuing to support you.
Fantastic, Jake. Well, we're hitting 5 o'clock here on the East Coast, so if you're also on the East Coast, you have plenty of daylight left to go out and make some more calls and emails. If you're on the West Coast, even more time. And then only one more day, Friday, until it's the weekend, and you can get into grinding back in here and building out more of your lists while the rest of your audience is asleep and out of the lake or whatever. We know that our customers will get questions all hours of the day. We'll get them at 5:15 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. We know you hustle hard. So best of luck building everything out. Let us know whatever we can do to help. And thank you again for joining today.